three circumstances where an employee can say no. Number one is if the employer is not meeting health and safety requirements. The other circumstance is in a situation where you have childcare responsibilities. Children are still off school. There's no schools or daycares in most places. If you have school-age children, you are allowed to stay home with your children, and you can't be let go for that, and you can continue on benefits. So even if both parents are at home, and even if it's not necessary for both parents to be at home, they are still allowed to be home with school-age children. The third circumstance is situations where an employee has a medical condition that may make their immune system compromised, in which case, as long as they get a doctor's note saying that they need to be off work, they can continue being off work. They may be considered to have resigned, which means they would lose their job. And in addition to that, they would then be disqualified from getting any government benefits like the CERB. So the end result potentially could be no job and no income. So employees do have to be very careful here, not to simply decide, I don't want to go to work. Public transit is allowed to operate. It's deemed an essential service. They have to meet certain criteria, but legally speaking, they still have to do that, because if they don't, the concern, as I said before, is that they may be deemed to have resigned from their job, even though that's not what they intend to do. Unfortunately not, and that's exactly the type of case where an employee should have that discussion with their employer. You do have a right to refuse work. It's a very fundamental right that every employee anywhere in Canada has, the right to refuse dangerous and unsafe work. In that situation, number one, you can't be penalized for doing that. The employer has to resolve that problem. And if there is a disagreement between the employer and the employee as to whether the work is safe, but the remedy then is to call an inspector from the provincial government, from the Ministry of Labor, who will inspect the workplace and determine who's right, who's wrong. An employer still has a right to run its business. So an employee that now is off work may find their employer saying, well, I need to find someone else to do the job in the meantime. So there may not be a job available to that employee when they come back. So they're not being punished. It's simply the reality of the employer having to run its business. We call that a termination without cause, meaning the employer would have to pay the employee their full severance.